Hi, everyone, and welcome back to Let's Talk About Myths, baby. Today is a episode I'm a little nervous about, but that's fun and exciting. If you can't tell, it's Michaela Panguish, resident Hermes, producer of the show, researcher, etc. And this is actually my first solo conversation episode with somebody. I feel like it went well, but I guess you all will find out and see. This episode, I talked with Kacper Szymczak of Artificer Games on the new game they came up with called Minos, all about the labyrinth and the Minotaur. And it's a fun little rogue type game where you build a labyrinth and fuck up some Greek heroes, and that's always fun and exciting. So, without further ado, I'll let us get into the episode. Conversations. Will Theseus get what's coming to him? Minos with Kacper Szymczak. I guess the easiest way we can start is if you want to introduce yourself, and we can go from there.
Well, name or surname? I was expecting you to be saying my name.
Kacper Szymczak.
Perfect. That's amazing. Spectacular.
Got it.
Yes, close enough. You got it. Kacper Szymczak is the way you would say it if you were Polish, born and raised. And I'm the creative director and CEO of Artificer, and I suppose the reason I'm here is to talk about Minos or Minos. We haven't yet decided.
It's correct. It's correct in multiple places. It's probably, a potatoes thing.
One of those. Yeah, probably. Yeah.
And do you want to tell me a bit about Minos the game? Minos the game. There, I'm doing it. Great.
Well, there you go. Yeah. So Minos is a game about a minotaur in a maze and a lot of other things around it. So the basic setup is this: there's a minotaur in a maze, and there's heroes coming from across the land in adventures to slay the famous monster for glory, gold, whatever. And so you design the maze, you control the minotaur, and you set up traps in the maze so that the traps, the maze, and the minotaur kill everyone. And the key focus point, like in terms of gameplay, is the layer of the construction and labyrinth design. Actually, maze, we were taught that our vocal community that labyrinth is not the same thing as a maze. Did you know that?
In my mind, it is, but
so yes,
fair to everyone else.
Yeah, but like in theory, labyrinth, which I find extremely stupid, but please bear with me. Labyrinth is it's a maze with no crossings.
Okay.
So basically, in practice, that's just a long, windy corridor. That's it. That's what. Yeah. Which is like, how is this a thing? What's the purpose of this word even? But okay.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I know, because labyrinth, etymologically, I can say things mostly at 8 a.m. Because it comes from the word in antiquity for the double-headed axe that's found in Minoan culture, which was called a labyrinth. So, and I think because
so cool.
Yeah, the labyrinth was known.
I am now making a note for the team. Thank
you. Yeah, there's a lot of we spend a lot of time looking up words here because we're just like, but why? That's so fun. So what sparked this idea to bring
so I have a drawer full of game ideas. I've been doing this for 20 years now professionally.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of games. Like my biggest fear in life, let me step this up. So my biggest fear in life is I will die too soon to be able to realize all my game ideas. And I'm just getting more, right?
Yeah.
So I need to step up my game. And so One of those was to make a game about designing labyrinths, because
Mm.
mazes, because um, I find it a fascinating thing to work with, to make the player feel like they're designing an interesting maze.
Mhm.
That's something somewhat mind bending, right? So whenever
Mhm.
you want to depict something mind bending, you use the maze.
Mhm.
So, like, for example, in the uh, titles to the movie Inception, there's a lot of mazes there.
Mhm.
There's no mazes in the movie. There's literally nothing related, right?
Mhm.
But it's a symbol of things being spatially complicated, I think, on a
Mhm.
2D surface.
Mhm.
Yeah. So based of that, I was playing with this idea um, of making something interesting out of it. And so obviously, naturally, the monitor works, in a
Thematically, yeah.
it makes sense.
He's known for it.
Also, yes, widely known character. It's a big, massive, free IP, you know,
Mhm. Yep.
so a huge brand out of the box. Also, never been done before, as in Mindhunter has been present in some games and some movies, yada yada. Like even Heroes 3 has a Mindhunter, right? And
Mhm.
many others. But it's always a character in the background, always
Yes.
something, And I think that's an interesting story to latch onto,
Mhm.
even though we're not necessarily retelling it. If we want to segue into that for a second, I was assuming that's kind of what you want to talk about primarily.
Yes, we'll definitely be talking about it. I wanted to touch all the bases as well because I am a bit of
Sure,
a
sure.
I'm a very like why person. Tell me things in a happy way, of
Okay, all
course.
right. Good, good, good.
Um, yeah, because you're very right in saying that the Minotaur has never had the forefront of sort of anything, and we haven't, as I guess in the wider culture, kind of accepted sort of like his sympatheticness, where
Yes.
it's like this was a I mean, I feel like the one that got the closest to it recently was actually the Chaos TV show on Netflix, which I'm still mad that they canceled because it is so good.
I
But
haven't seen it yet, but
oh,
someone told me I should.
it is so good. Jeff Goldblum is Zeus. It and I
Oh my
know.
god.
I
Sold.
know. I know. I swear they just released him on the set and they were like, do what you want.
Yeah. Makes sense.
And
Yeah.
yeah, and it starts with like the show starts out with Money for Nothing playing, and it's just gorgeous. It's so well done. It plays with myth really fun in a really fun way, and it plays with the Minos and the Minotaur myth really well, in that it depicts it in a different way where the Minotaur isn't, well, I won't give you spoilers, but he isn't quite as monstrous as the
Good.
traditional story tells us, which is great. And that's one of the things I first noticed and I was really happy about was that in your game, I was playing the demo, was that he is named and he has his name from myth, because we often default.
It's so frustrating because people come and we have a lot of comments saying oh, it's a wink to Baldur's Gate, Skyrim.
Yes, you're
Oh
right.
my god, no.
We promise it's not. Yes,
Jesus.
it's the
Yeah.
actual the name he had, and he is a very interesting character in that who's to say he would have grown up to be monstrous if he didn't grow up in the environment he was. And
Which is the story of any human basically, and
truly,
everyone who we perceive as evil,
yeah.
right?
And
Um,
it's one of the things we talk about a lot, mostly in terms of like Medusa and such, is like these creatures, these monsters, quote unquote, are just living their life in a place, and then it's the heroes that are coming to them to like to mess with them, and they're getting their asses handed to them. But it's like it's not actually, the monster's not actually doing anything but existing in their environment, and then
mhm,
outside forces are coming in trying to kill them, and
mm.
that's why they're viewed as monstrous, is because they are actually capable of killing a man, which is, not probably not hard when you're
Yeah,
half bull half man, but Mm-hmm. Oh.
Yep, yep, exactly. And I would say that's something that I find interesting in a lot of settings in a lot of stories, and it's like
Mm-hmm.
it's not necessarily only monsters. So I've been delving into the history of piracy recently, and like the birth of piracy and the golden age of piracy, that was pure economy.
Yep.
Like was these pirates like would be basically forced to be doing this out of necessity and hunger and all that. So you know, um, we could probably extend it to all the villains that
Yeah.
we can think of
Yeah, truly.
to a
I
degree.
think it's
Right?
there's a very interesting thing that happens there with it's just perception and who is being quote unquote like victimized, where when a large empirical system is like, oh hey, these people are attacking our ships and taking our goods, and now we can't as easily go about trading our wares. Let's not talk about where we got our wares or what the wares are, but something is creating a barrier. They're the bad guys and they're being shown as bad. But it's like, well, you also created a system that pushes people to the margins.
Yep.
And we are nothing if not like good at thinking of new and interesting and fun and creative ideas to
Yeah.
survive, especially when we're forced to in those
Yeah, exactly.
positions.
And so you have the story of this child
Yep.
who has been cursed through no
Hmm.
fault of his own,
Yeah.
and so he was born different, and so everyone hates him.
Yeah.
It's like that's a
Truly.
very universal story, right?
Hmm.
So obviously we took some liberty with the story, with the myth. So my licencia poetica sort of is that, well, this is myth, right? So
Hmm.
there's probably a lot of tellings of the myth. Um, So this is our telling of the myth, which isn't not exactly canon. And oh, funny thing, we of all the silly random comments we had under our materials, there were comments like this: the Minotaur depiction isn't historically accurate. I'm like, dude,
What's
what, what,
historically accurate?
what do you mean? Yeah, how do you
With a
understand the word
mythological creature.
history? Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, but like that's one change that we sort of had to do is our Minotaur has more of a human face
Yeah.
because like you still have to empathize with this creature. So
Hmm.
and basically, if you were playing a cow, that's really difficult to have that convey emotion and
Hmm.
be attached to, unless you're a
Hmm.
furry, I guess. But um,
Fair.
fair. Yeah, like so. Yeah, that comes. Yeah, that I've heard a lot as well. Dude, like your game's gonna be huge with the furries. Well, okay.
And you know what?
Uh,
They are a very generous with their money bunch. And nice. They're nice people.
good.
I will give them that. I just go, I listen and don't judge. I listen and don't judge.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like I would. Yeah, whomever. Like I. Yeah,
Yeah.
I would love to have even I don't know Al Qaeda buying my games. That would be great as well. I don't mind.
Yeah.
Um.
Uh,
So and one more thing that we do in
mhm.
that regard, and going back to the fact that it is a child. So sh- this is going to be a bit of spoiler area, but we'll probably be doing a lot of that here anyways. So in the beginning of the game,
Mhm.
the Asterion is a child, like a
Mm,
human child, but with a bit of bull.
yeah.
If you've played Ico, that's sort of the reference we've been using, as in a
Mm,
cursed boy locked up somewhere.
mhm.
And so that's one of the big changes through to the myth. So the problem with the myth, through the perspective of an interactive medium, is um, in the myth, in the core canon telling of the myth, um, Astarion is 100% passive, like has no
Yes.
agency, which is not a good trait for a protagonist, right?
Yeah.
Therefore, as in any Greek tragedy, seeking happiness and whatever, um, the turning into monster is partially of his own doing, right? So that's sorry, I lost my trail of thought there. Yeah, so there are several things, yeah, in the myth that don't necessarily work for a video game.
Yeah.
Another one would be, well, as you probably noticed, in most video games, you win,
Yes.
right? Like the
That's
purpose
nice,
is victory.
usually.
Even if you somehow fail at the end, like Hellblade or whatever, it's kind of like you were trying so hard and winning so hard that you had to lose.
Yep.
And and that wasn't even interactive at that moment, right?
Hmm.
So so as you can probably imagine, the encounter with Theseus isn't exactly going
Hmm.
the canon way,
Yeah.
right?
That's nice. At least, that'll feel good for all of us who have our feelings about
Oh yeah,
Theseus.
100%. Yeah, it's very
Cathartic.
yeah, exactly.
Mm.
Yeah, it's kind of like Inglourious Bastards.
Yeah.
Like there's no way Hitler's gonna die, right? Right? Oh my God, he died. Yeah, sorry,
Yay.
spoilers if someone hasn't seen that yet. Yeah,
Well, we can all live out our feelings of how things should have gone in antiquity with this one then, and that'll be nice because ooh, if only Theseus could have been stopped at some point, that would have been great. um
yeah,
Great. So
yeah.
how did yeah,
Mhm.
go ahead.
Yeah, so one thing I also wanted to add to this is
Hmm.
I believe that when you tell a story that, like retelling a story that is somewhat well known,
Hmm.
you can't really tell the exactly same story
Yeah.
because they kind of know the story. And
Yeah.
the point of listening to a story is hearing a new story.
Hmm.
So therefore, there has to be some changes, at least
Hmm.
in how things happen, right?
Hmm.
Uh, to make it interesting and fresh.
Yeah, and I think there's something you said earlier with the canon of myth,
Yeah.
which I think is a like a common some I think people outside of like mythological studies or comparative myth often think that there is a canon to myth.
Oh,
But
okay.
like yeah, and when you kind of sit with myth and study it for a while, there's a very quick realization that the idea of canon in mythology is just not true because of how
Hmm.
these stories move around and how different people interact with them and what different people see in them. It changes. And so I come from a very like myth heavy
Interesting.
culture. Yeah, so I know I said I have some Polish ancestry. I do, but I'm First Nations, and so like I grew up in a very myth heavy environment where I was told stories orally from my elders and other people I knew all throughout growing up, and no one ever told the same story in the same way or with all the same elements. They were like certain touchstones that stayed the same, but people would play with the details.
Yeah.
And I think that's really important because I find what happens with myth is that it is something that it is a didactic experience. It teaches an
Hmm.
individual sort of how to act in situations or how to think about what one should do in certain situations. And so to kind of look at the Minotaur myth and to assume it always went the way it did,
Hmm.
from the few you know sources that we have, it's like, well, we have only a oh, Liv would know better. But like maybe one or two like hard sources,
Okay.
like written sources. There's a lot of other like pictorial things. I know my
Hmm.
favorite image from pottery is actually of Pasiphae holding baby Asterion. And
Oh,
it's
cool.
very like it's suddenly like you see that and you're like, oh, okay, well, like now we're getting this idea straight from antiquity that it's like people are remembering the Minotaur was once a baby. And that
Yeah. Right. Yeah. That kind of
yeah,
makes sense. Yeah.
so suddenly it's like, okay, so that idea of him being just purely monstrous is not quite just the strict thing,
Yeah.
because he is being humanized in those moments, and even that he has his own name, that he's not just the Minotaur, he is named,
Yeah.
is another thing. Like, we name things we care about. Like,
Yeah. Definitely.
I yeah, like I in high school I had a boyfriend whose family owned a farm, and I'd visit and they had cows, and I remember naming one once for some stupid reason, and then months
Oh
later,
no.
yep, his mom was like, "Oh,
Oh, the
guess whose that
Silence of
is?"
the
And I'm
Lamb
like,
story. Jesus.
and I was like, "Why would you tell me this? This is horrible." But
Oh my god.
the act of naming is a very like personal and intimate thing to do because it just humanizes a person immediately or humanizes a thing. And so I think that's very interesting to look to know that like Asterion the Minotaur was not just a monster throughout history and that
Mm,
his story wasn't static, you know, XYZ happened. That when people would tell these stories to their children or to other people, that they would put their own spin on it. And, you know, the Minotaur would always stay. Maybe there'd always be a labyrinth. You know, maybe Theseus would always show up and do his Theseus thing. But the little details would change from person to person. Um, and there are some purists who don't like that, and that's fair.
yeah,
Let them.
of course. Yeah.
Yeah, we're allowed to have our
Well,
preferences.
so I think there's it's really hard to make everyone happy, obviously, but
Yeah.
there's like he's still um like I'm a big believer in approaching stories in a sort of hero of a thousand faces,
Mm-hmm.
perfect key story way, as in there are rules, there are expectations. Um, sure, you can subvert expectations, but for example, you don't get to change the genre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, um, oh my God, what's the title of the movie?
Ooh, what
Uh,
happens in it?
Vampires, Mexico.
Oh.
Yeah, that one. Tarantino or Rodriguez was that? Rodriguez. You know which one? Salma Hayek. Oh my God,
Mm.
she pissed his Google. What's the From Dusk Till Dawn? Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So I I believe From Dusk Till Dawn wasn't super successful. It's a cult movie, but it's like wasn't super successful because it changes the genre. Like,
Mm-hmm.
and genre is a deal the customer made with you, the
Yeah.
audience made with you. Like, I came here to laugh, or I came here for action, or I came here for whatever. And sure,
Yeah.
subvert, I want you to surprise me, but within the confines of this thing, right?
Yes.
So, for example, if Asterion at the end of the game, you know, a UFO came and he'd like fly out back home to Mars where he's from or whatever,
Yeah.
then well, that's sure, you can do everything and surprise everyone, but it's kind of like with the with Lost, right? It's like
Mm-hmm.
th- there were rules
Yeah.
established here, and you're breaking all of them, and so now anything can happen.
Yeah.
So why should I care?
Yeah. There's less stakes. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because when there's mystery, and I think of every story is a mystery to some degree, I feel like there's a huge overlap between mystery stories and so all stories and games in that as you watch the plot unfold, and this is
Mm-hmm.
very clear in like Agatha Christie stories. You watch the plot unfold. You watch you follow a detective like trying to reveal a plot,
Mm-hmm.
and at the same time you're having this gameplay experience of trying to figure out faster than they do.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as long as they're not cheating, as in like they're not withholding any special information that the audience wouldn't have, then it's a great story. And it's kind of similar thing, right? It's a deal. And so the myth again is a similar deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it has to has these elements, but we have to change them a bit to make it interesting. But I also respect the audience's expectations to have Theseus there somewhere, have Ariadne there, and and
Yeah.
like have a bull person.
Yeah. There are certain things that are
Yeah,
like, yep, those should remain probably.
yeah,
They're core to the myth, or in a way that it's like they have the elements, but then play with the sort of the dressing of
yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
elements.
Like, you still have a lot of room to have fun with the extra context and the depth. Like, for example, so the way Minos is structured, it's a roguelike or
Mm-hmm.
roguelite game, and for whomever isn't really into games, so like the way it works is you play a level, you design a maze, you put in traps, enemies come, you slay them all, and so then you move forward to another maze and you redo this and you unlock more traps and new tools and upgrade your monitor skills, whatever. At one point you might perish, and when you do, you retain some of your progress and you have to start from the beginning. So, but now you have different traps. Now you have like there's
Mm-hmm.
the things you unlock and the things you collect. These are it's a now new subset of all the tools, so they combo differently, and
Mm-hmm.
so your game is somewhat different every time you play it.
Mm-hmm.
That's the gist of it. And so for this, we needed to solve the problem of so it's not one maze because you cannot indefinitely work on one maze, but it's going to be boring. And we also want it to be pretty snappy, and so you finish a level in like 15 20 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So why would Minotaur move to a different maze, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so the solution is it's not a maze. It's what is better than a maze? A maze of mazes, right?
Truly.
Obviously. so what happens in the game world? And again, spoilers. Um, you go through the maze of mazes, deeper underground,
Mm-hmm.
and um, the whole structure is a sentient maze that eventually talks to you and explains things
Mm-hmm.
like how it's been created by Hephaestus to be the ultimate problem solver and to figure out what maze designing is all about. And so it kind of uses you to like gives you tools to observe you how you do this
Mm-hmm.
so that it learns from you. And so it's all like a massive clockwork underground structure where Asterion receives like trap designs from the maze,
Mm-hmm.
from labyrinths, and um, that when the traps set up in the maze kill enemies, blood flows through elaborate systems of pipes and and hydraulics, basically deep underground, where the blood is filtered out to retrieve iron
Mm-hmm.
from the blood, from which new traps are constructed.
Okay.
Yeah, so that you get more traps for killing enemies, and that's there's things like that that they're not contradictory to the myth,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a stretch. it's
It's
a
a
you
stretch.
know it's a big extension of the myth, but it's like as you keep adding layers of okay, so why are they sitting there? Like what's the purpose of Daedalus sitting there? I was like,
Mm-hmm.
why are we moving from one maze to another, right? So you
Mm-hmm.
can make all these interesting things that player can
Yeah.
delve into when their
When they're
playthrough is
playing.
like 20 hours of it, right? So
Yes.
there's got
Yeah.
to be a bit of that.
Do something. Yeah, there's an entire subset of classics called that's like reception studies, but specifically like video game reception studies.
Mhm.
And so like this is something that gets talked about a lot is like how do you change the story to fit a game format? Like cuz you know, especially with a sort of like a myth like the Minotaur where there is actually not that much compared to
Oh yeah,
some other myths. But if you want to make a game entirely around the one thing, which it like deserves in and of itself, you got to be able to take liberties because it needs to be able to fit a gaming format. And
yes,
I think that's gets people a little like moments, but they accepted Hades. And yeah, where they were like, oh, like, people were like, oh, they just accepted the idea of Zagreus in and of itself, and then they would ask us about it, and we're like, oh man, Zagreus is like the name itself of mythology shows up like once or twice within one within one like mystery cult. Like it's not a thing.
yeah,
And so you're allowed to sort of play with things because it's also true to how stories work and how they exist throughout time. It's like we're allowed to take these themes and apply them to the here and now in ways that are readable for the person here and now.
yeah.
And yeah, so like, but some people get upset, and I think that's fair because there are things I get really, really upset about.
to canon things,
Um,
mostly
yeah,
books.
I think so. I think people are only upset if it's not great.
This
If
is
you
true.
can, and more often than not, if your work is great, and then everything, everything is forgiven.
Hmm.
To give you a good example, um, and oh my god, I love the story so much. So Witcher 3 came out a long time ago, right? And
Yes.
so we would be discussing this in the studio, and so this element is great, the story is great, the quests are amazing. The alchemy system, the crafting is
Oh yeah.
so bad. Like
I
the
would never use
UX
it.
or the interface, yeah, it was just so awful.
Hmm.
And it was like, oh, you're just salty because the game was like extremely successful, yada yada. It's
Hmm.
Witcher, dude. It's like the best game ever. Everything is
Yes.
good about this.
Yes.
And a year later, they patched this. Is like they overhauled the thing.
Hmm.
And when I talked to the devs at some point, we're like, yeah, that was like the alchemy. Yeah, we fucked it up. That was bad. So so again, when you're successful, when the game's like when the rest is amazing, then
Hmm.
you can do whatever.
Hmm.
Um
It's like
also mhm.
the Majora's Mask time situation in like the original N64 version, where it's like you can just go back to day one. You can't, if you want to trigger certain events, you have to like
Mhm.
sit there and wait for the actual time. And that was such a pain in the ass when I was younger. I was just like,
Yeah.
I just need it to be 3 p.m. on the second day to do X thing. And I have to sit here waiting from, 8 a.m. on the first day to, I'm like, okay, here we go. We're just going to sit and wait. And, when they remade it for the little guy, the DS,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they made it so that there's actually a system where you can go and like pick which time to go to, and there's like a notebook
Mm.
system that like keeps important information down, like
Yeah.
people's schedules and stuff. And I'm like, that is so helpful because people's
Yes.
big issue with the game was how difficult that was to work with. I meanwhile loved Majora's Mask,
Oh, and
and
100% there were people who were like, "Oh my God, this is bullshit. This
yeah,
shouldn't be here." Like the whole point of playing Majora's Mask in the past was to sit and wait
yep.
and
It
watch
was
this.
it was a very contemplative game. It was so dark. And I remember just being like I look back now and I'm like, how was it okay for me to play that when I was so young? Like I'm like, do I have like mental health issues because of Majora's Mask? Did that ruin me? Did that introduce me to the dark side of the world too young? Did
Yes.
what happened? But yeah, you're right. Like we can kind of forgive things. And like we were talking about like Assassin's Creed earlier too, like the first game
Oh yeah.
where when it came out it was just so amazing, and but we could look past just how every little mission was literally the exact same thing over and over again with a
Oh
different
yeah.
skin because it was so phenomenal.
Yeah, that
um
was when we started to realize what Ubisoft will be doing for
oh truly.
the foreseeable future.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're Montreal based, aren't they? But they're French company.
Umst, like all of yeah, it's a French company. Like it's like okay, it used to be over 5,000 people
Yeah.
worldwide, but
Mm.
nowadays might be a bit less.
uh well,
But I
that's
think yeah,
life.
I think that's Assassin's Creed 1 was in Montreal, right? That was Patrice
Nice.
Desilets. So sounds
Nah.
French or Canadian, and I'm pretty sure it wasn't in Paris.
Yeah, because I do remember in the Summer Olympics when the assassin was like, they had the assassin during the opening
What?
ceremony. Yeah, they did.
Oh,
I
so
was
cool.
I remember seeing like clips of it, and I was like, I have to look this up, and I like watched it, and then I like sent it to my sister, and I was like, is that the assassin? And she was just like, yeah, and I'm like, okay, he's at the Olympics, hell yeah.
Nice.
And I'm just
It
like a
kind of makes
win for
sense.
gamers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the one of the gifts Obama got from our prime minister was Witcher 3, right? Yeah,
Mm.
it's a thing now.
Yeah, I would think so because it's written by a Polish author. So and it's well known. Oh gosh, Witcher.
Yeah, it's a wildly successful game.
Yeah, I always
Yeah.
my thing that always freaks people out is when I tell them that when, because I'm a completionist for like maps, I'm like I must
Oh
finish the
yeah,
map
yeah. Oh yeah,
completely
yeah,
before I do the
yeah.
story,
100%. Yeah,
which always means that when I'm ready to go into the story, I'm way overpowered
yeah.
and I'm just like la
Yes.
la 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 la. But instead of taking a boat and just boating around everywhere, I just swam the whole thing because I was like, I don't want to get in and out of the boat. And I remember my
Wait,
friend being like, "You
what game was
psychopath!"
that? Sorry.
In Witcher 3.
Oh my god. Yeah, but yeah. Oh yeah. But I can get behind that. So I was mopping up the map of Witcher 3 as well,
Oh my god,
and
yeah.
so if the distance made sense, but usually the distances are pretty short, so it made no
Yeah.
sense to just find a boat. Also,
Get
the
in, get
monsters will
out, get
destroy
in, get
my
out.
boat. Like, why bother?
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's just yeah. I can just
I just put on
yeah.
my favorite
The
album,
legwork. Yeah.
put on a podcast or something,
Oh
and
yeah,
just be
yeah,
like,
yeah.
"This
Oh
is my
yeah, yeah,
evening." Like, just
yeah.
gonna do that, and it's fine. But
100%.
yeah, so it's this. How do we like the world of like? I think people feel a lot of the times like gaming is such a perfect medium for exploring myths and history, which in a
Mhm.
lot of ways is true. But then there's also specifics about like how do you make a game and how do you make it work for the vast majority of people. That is, I think, stuff that my people, classicists, don't think about because we want things to be so true to what it originally was. But then we get upset when things change. But it's like, okay, but that really wouldn't work in a video game is the problem.
Yeah, yeah.
And we don't know those parameters. So like was there so you were saying a bit about how there was some pushback from people being like, well, that's
Oh,
not
well, a
canon. But
bit.
like,
Yeah, just a little bit. Well,
yeah.
so there's several approaches to this, and there's game developers who be like trying to be as accurate as possible, as true to the source. I'm very much the Assassin's Creed way here. Like, nothing is true, everything is permitted,
Yep.
and so um, all I care about is not telling the story. For me, it's all about the novelty of the interactive experience, and
Hmm.
everything has to serve that.
Hmm.
Um, for 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 my games, story is always secondary. So,
Mm.
um, and therefore, obviously, it will inevitably, at times, fall victim to gameplay. Like, for example, we don't want a game to end when you meet Theseus,
Yeah.
and we want the player to be able to succeed. And like, it's difficult, and when so again, there's a system. So one of the reasons we have labyrinths, like the maze of mazes, the sentient maze of mazes in place, is whenever you'd get game over situation,
Hmm.
as Asterion falls down, the maze kills everyone in the maze,
Mm.
locks it up, and like there's an elevator that rises from the ground where Asterion falls and elevates
Mm.
to a safe place, like protects
Mm.
it from harm, right? So that it can. It's kind of like the oh my god, what was the myth? Not the Sisyphus myth, but the one with the hawk and the liver. Oh my god.
Oh, Prometheus.
Prometheus, thank you. Yeah. So, like, endless suffering in this amazing
Hmm.
fun maze where you get to maze things.
Yep.
Uh, it's amazing. Ah, right?
But I'm Chung.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think there's it's also just so true to life. I'm like, life is suffering.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yes, that is 100% true. Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, I
That's,
will have to continue to pay taxes, so like I am hurting, but it's fine. It's fine. The government needs it for something. I don't know what. But yeah, so there are these little things like that make so what was your sort of like your focus for like what for you makes like a good game in this aspect and like what
oh,
was really important for
oof.
you to to keep you may rant and rave as much as you like about this.
Oh, no. So, like, au contraire. So, I don't think there's much to be said about this.
Oh.
So, no, my point is, so there's two legs to this. One
Mhm.
is make it a good game, which
Mhm.
is oh, like all of knowledge of game making comes down to this, as in making an interesting learning curve, letting the player discover things and learn in somewhat steady pace, while at the same time providing just enough obstacles and
Mhm.
challenges to keep things interesting, giving them some space um, to control the challenge. As in, like, if things get too boring, let them speed up. If things get too hard, let them slow down, and whatnot. So as I keep making those games, like I realize there's more and more rules and things you can do to make the game better.
Mm-hmm.
And but the more interesting in this context part is making the maze building interesting.
Yeah.
Because if you were to take a gridded piece of paper right now and was like, you go draw a maze and have fun, be like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, here's a maze, wasn't super fun. And after your third or maze, you'd be like, this is bullshit. I'm not doing
Tedious.
this anymore. This is unfun. Where's
Yeah.
so the key challenges here was to what's the starting point? Like what is the player working towards? How to make this interesting. So everything clicked when I realized it has to start with a very clear problem and challenge to solve
Mm-hmm.
that the maze is the solution to.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where we went the tower defense kind of path. So we have enemies like there's entrances to the maze, and from the get-go you see enemies coming from the entrance,
Mm-hmm.
and there's an indicator this group of enemies is big. They're gonna fuck you up, and
Mm-hmm.
so you need to do something about this. And
Protect
so
yourself. Yeah.
yeah, and so you design the path, you put in the traps, you split them up perhaps, and maybe so there's a lot of mechanisms there. Like you can reorder the enemies in the group. So for example, you would
Ah.
have a shielded enemy in front who would like who could dismantle the traps in front of
Mm.
the group, right? So okay, so we're gonna send him a different path, lure him away,
Mm-hmm.
do something with him down there, and have the like handle the rest of the group
Yeah.
with in a different way. So as you progress through the game, there's more enemies that keep making the problem of handling the whole group more and more difficult and interesting. So in the beginning, you like there's just basic adventures. So any number of traps on their path will be fine. Just design the walls in a way that they go through the paths, so through the traps. And once you have that, then okay, so here's an enemy who is far more like who gets more powerful with every other enemy in the group.
Mm-hmm.
And so you just had like the simple solution is to isolate them. But what if they're in the middle of the group?
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets tricky. And so you use rotating walls and pressure plates and whatnot to
Separate, divide.
dismantle. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
sort of a sorting problem to a
Mm-hmm.
degree. And the canvas for that is the labyrinth, the
Mm-hmm.
maze, right? So you, in theory, you could probably do this in a linear fashion, but the concise, confined space of the maze makes it an interesting spatial riddle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sort of.
Oof. See, these are things I don't think about.
Yeah,
That's
so these are the things I only think about. Like I'm trying to limit my life and scope of things I touch and do all day to just think about things like that. This is what makes me happy, uh, uh,
That's fair.
infinitely. Yeah,
I would
it's
get so
the stuff
frustrated.
in life. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the type of person who will like when I can't solve a puzzle in what I deem as the correct
Oh yeah,
amount
I
of
hate
time.
that as well. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh,
I
screw that.
just I'm like I need to pause. I need to don't smoke kids, but go outside and like chain smoke for a bit, stare off into the middle distance with like no sound, and like my friend who lives in the
Yeah,
building
so this
beside
is
me.
exactly my creative process.
Yeah, it's like
It's
you need
yeah.
those moments. Yeah, so like and I think that's and I think I oh, where is my brain going? Take a sip of coffee, let's see what happens. Mm,
Yeah, weren't you on? Where'd you went off, Michaela? Tell us.
somewhere. It's just, the sky is gray. It's got lost in there thinking about nicotine and the French. Um, yeah, so it's an interesting dilemma, but I think the labyrinth is great for that because it allows it's an easy thing to interact with as players. We understand how a maze works
Yeah,
and understand its construction, and
yeah,
we
sort
understand, yeah, or
of.
we can conceptualize it better, and it is a really easy thing to, or not easy, but like it's a good medium for sitting and
Yeah,
thinking
like
through
everyone
linear
knows what a maze
problems.
is. Everyone has solved a maze at one point.
Yeah.
Everyone tried to draw one. Yeah.
Mhm.
What you know what? I can tell you what really fucks things up, and like where like people get completely lost is when they get to use a door in the
Yeah.
maze. One that splits. So the way our doors work is there's the auto closing door that will close after one enemy passes through, and there's
Mm,
modifiers you can make it a different number of enemies. And so this creates an alternative path for
mhm,
whomever didn't go through. Like if there's no other way, they'll destroy the door. But if there's other way around it, they'll the paths will split. And this
mm.
is where like the minds are exploding. We're like, oh my god, this is what? Like this is it's just two paths now instead of one, dude.
Yeah.
Like you got this.
Work on one
Like,
artery and then
yeah.
work on the other. But I,
Yes. Yeah. But
yeah.
like the the mental, like I never expected that the mental leap of creating two paths from one with a door is going to be such a hurdle for people. It's mind-boggling, really.
I do like just the way the human mind works sometimes
Oh
in
yeah.
the way that it surprises. I know the first time I sat down with it and I was playing the demo, I was just when it came to like now build the maze, so there are things. I was like, what if I just like build it so they
Yeah.
can't get to him? That was like the
Oh
first thing
yeah.
my
That's
brain
that's
did.
the first thing everyone does.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, ta-da, I did. Oh, I can't let them in. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just
So, that's an interesting point. So like this is something literally every single person I've ever seen play do. Right? And so we were thinking of, so there's like a narrative reason for this.
Mm,
Obviously the labyrinth, like he wants them to come in and be slain because that's the purpose of the maze, right?
mhm,
That's like, but obviously that's sort of a bullshit reason. So
mhm.
like,
yeah.
yeah, why like can't we just not have them in? Like, wouldn't that
Yeah.
be simpler? Um, and yeah, but again, let's like in if you had that in a movie. Like
Mhm,
in a movie, you'd be like, why won't they just build a wall? This is so stupid and unbelievable. Or there's this made up reason that is very like
mhm,
very thinly veiled logic, right?
mhm,
Now in a game context, what makes it significantly different is you tell the player like from the get-go, like this has to be done in the setup where you set the world rules, like
mhm.
like it's Harry Potter. There's gonna be magic. All right,
Yeah.
yeah, okay, magic letters, sure, fine. Um, so so we're thinking of a more elegant solution, but like ultimately, this is where you set the ground rules. So changing the button that lets you let in the enemy's movement, it's just blocked and says no path to lair.
Mhm.
That's it. That's like there's no explanation there. It was like, oh, okay, these are the rules of the house.
Yeah.
I will henceforth adhere to those, and and have fun. I trust, and most players are like this. Like the night, I would say, I don't have the data, but like 95% are like, tell me which is the way to fun.
Mhm.
What's the setup? Like, what are the rules? Then they would love to break it. Like, that's one of the huge strengths of the roguelike and roguelite genre. Um, so you set the rules. They're gonna be like, yeah, okay, like whatever you say, I'm gonna try to follow. And if it's fun, then it's fine. If it's not fun because of your stupid rules, then then I hate you forever. But if you make things fun with these constraints, then yeah, sure, let's go.
Mhm.
And then comes the element where they try to break the game with like, hey, so there's this damage multiplier if I use this, and this will combo with this other thing. So, for example, there's rats in the maze, and you
Mhm.
can unlock the ability to uh, make so where Asterion can eat rats
Okay.
for health. Yes, so but there's also an artifact that makes rats twice as big. So, and there's an artifact that makes rats angry and biting anyone who comes. So if you combo these three things, they're like the game changes into um, like a rat managing game
Yeah.
where you're like, okay, so where are the rats in the maze? I need access to some rats in case I get low health,
Mhm.
uh, and I'm just gonna send all the enemies through these piles of rats that are going to mutilate all of them.
Yeah.
And you know the game stops working in the way it was designed, sort of. Obviously, that's one of the combos that were like clearly pre-designed, and so, wow, congratulations, you found it and broke the game. Wow, amazing, good for you. But that's kind of where the peak satisfaction comes from gamers. Like, oh, I broke your game. I'm so good at this. Sure you are.
It wasn't already in the system. Yeah, I had a friend who was. We couldn't show him games because, like, within 30 minutes, be like, well, if you did this, 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 and this,
Yeah.
it'd be so easy,
Oh, yeah.
and I would be like, shut up.
Yeah, but like that's a gamer itch to be scratched, right?
Truly,
And
yeah.
you've played Minos for a bit, right? So
Yes.
I just recently, and we never found this, like, as we were developing the game, and so someone recently in our community on our Discord shared a video where they killed literally everyone with one trap and a lot of doors and a lot of pressure plates. So they built this structure. So there's this trap. Okay, so the setup is this. Almost all traps, or basically all traps in Minos, they work once, right? So unlike in other tower defense games, they spring once, they kill one person, and they're done. Some traps are slightly more effective, yada yada, but like most of them, they work once, kill one specific target. There is this trap that kills the third target and works continuously. So every third target that steps on the trap, it springs. And so they designed a system, like a very elaborate system of doors and pressure plates linked to the doors that you'd reroute continuously the whole traffic through the maze through this one single trap and butchering them all. Which is like, oh my god, like, so someone from our team is like, oh my god, we need to patch this out. We're like, no, that's what they paid for. That's what
like,
they came here for.
They figured it out. Like, that's that's kind of glorious.
Yeah.
Like, wow. That's so funny. Just like, I made a conveyor belt.
yeah, exactly. It was like, because I think it's a very a MacGyverian experience where, like, what if would this work? And when it does, it's absolutely amazing. It's
so satisfying.
Best, right?
And that's you want to leave those things in because you don't want people to just be frustrated by the whole thing and be like, why can't this work, or what, XYZ.
Yeah.
Let the player have a win.
There has to be ways. So the problem is, on one hand, they want to break the game, but on the other hand, they don't want the game to be broken.
Yep.
So you cannot have these synergies work indefinitely, as in, because when things get hard and they can't quickly find a simple solution, they will fall to their tried and tested, let's say, broken cheats, right, of combos. So the game has to be somewhat resilient to that in the long term, as in, well, you figured this out, amazing, great, but this trap is like this specific kind, and so they're from depth, I don't know, from say level 7, there's these new enemies, not a lot of them, but they are immune to this. Right? So now you have to find like the most hated enemy in the whole game. Actually, there's two, but the first most hated enemy that you encounter is the trap disarmer. Very simply, he just disarms the trap he approaches, right? So everyone's like, oh my god, what am I supposed to do now? There's obviously there's tons of ways. There's millions of ways to solve it. But like your first encounter, like you're like, I got this. I figured this out. This is so, I figured this game out. Let me just show me the credits, okay? And then you encounter the disarmer and like, shit. Like, everything I had so far ceased to work. Right? Yeah. It just needs a small adjustment, but like you can use the doors.
I'm like, can I just put him in a small room by himself? Will he starve to death eventually? That would be I would be so frustrated.
So many ways. Yeah. You could, like the simplest way is to, put in a door, isolate him, and just smack him in the fucking face. And
there we go.
Like in combat, he's just such a wimp. So
usually everything is going to have its weakness, and like that is important. You can't just give like a character that there's like nothing you can do against. There is some fun in those sort of like almost impossible characters to go against, but they're not part of the main part of the game. There's something you seek out to hurt yourself with later.
Also, I think especially or maybe not necessarily only strategy games, but mainly in strategy games. Like some of the strategy games are like, here's this. So you finish your level, you go to the next level, and you're like, what the hell is this? How am I supposed to even? How do I start with this? Because there's so many enemies. It's so packed. It's so difficult. It's so complicated. And then you find a place where you can start. You take up one enemy or whatever, right? And so you work your way. It's like with the Hitman series, for example, or Assassin's Creed. But Assassin's Creed is like far more, like, I know, easier, casual,
linear.
But yeah, where like basically just press a button and everyone dies, right? So but in other like say more old school games, like you have to work towards your goal, and every single enemy is sort of a challenge. And then you beat the whole thing, and you look back and you're like, oh my god, I'm so good at this.
Yes.
Like this was like, you remember, you have this experience of feeling this is unbeatable, and then you get it. Like I've been playing Slay the Spire 2 now, like
oh my god,
literally everyone in the industry. So I just went to GDC, and it's like meeting people, everyone who was flying through Europe. Steam decks are extremely popular in the industry, and so it was like, yeah, I was playing Slay the Spire 2 on my plane here. When my plane landed, that was like the last leg of the trip was like 11 hours, all of it. Like 17 hours. So when the plane landed, I was like, I could do more of this. I'm not ready to get off. But like,
so fair.
It's a very roguelike game in that you start playing and it's like, how am I supposed to beat the third enemy? And then you do these, and then you go and face the bosses and the elite, and was like, yeah, I could do this all day. Hit me with more, because I have this amazing combo. I've broken the game, which
and that's like that's something that's like such an incredibly satisfying feeling.
Oh yeah,
and it like creeps up on you in a way, because you start off like, and I think this is where like roguelike games kind of excel at, because they're like, okay, keep going. Oh, well, you don't have enough experience, you don't have enough like goods, materials, or equipment that you need. You're gonna die. You could sit here for 20 minutes and be really good at dodging and just be like going down at things, which is its own feeling in a way as well. But there's something about the dying and doing it over and over again and building yourself up that is such like you get to the end of it and you're like, I have been forged through the flames of X game.
100%.
I'm so powerful now, and like games should do that. It's like the one game
because like compared to toys, games are all about overcoming, right? So it has to be an interesting enough challenge and a problem. And Sid Meier once said, and I think that's the ultimate definition of a game. Like games are series of interesting choices, and so making problems, right? And so solving these interesting problems is that's the juice of the game. Right? That's where the whatever cool enzymes you get from playing a video game. That's where the shot comes from.
Yeah, and like there's something to say also about like like I love a good very linear story based game as well, but I tend to find those much more relaxing. It's like it's more like this is a way I can turn my brain off and just kind of enjoy a good story, versus like when I want to be challenged, or like when I want to just, I don't know, hate my life. That's when I go to like Dead by Daylight, and I'm like,
okay, but like let me separate there. I'm going to challenge what you just said. So what do you mean? What would you say is a good linear story? Like, give me a game example.
For me, I think honestly, I feel like a lot of the Assassin's Creeds fall into it. It's sort of like you go from point 1, 2, 3, 4, and there are like side missions and stuff like that.
Yeah, okay.
But
like,
like,
I thought you were talking about like games that are like strictly narrative games, as in not a game that has gameplay and a story, but like
If it's a
Uh,
strictly story game, that's more of a brain thinky game because I have to be in the story versus
yeah,
like,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Because my point would be, because I was hoping you would say, let's imagine you did,
Okay.
that it was one of the Telltale games, like so the pinnacle of
Yeah.
narrative story design. But these games are all about choice. So
Mhm.
again, like it's like what made them great and what made them huge and what made now the, oh my god, what's the title of the game? Their new game, the Dispatch. Yeah. So
Oh
what
yeah.
makes what started this? What made this interesting is you would always, back in the day, you would always have choices in
Mhm.
stories. Like, do I go this way? Do I like, do I betray them or do I follow them or whatever? But
Mhm.
the thing that made this new wave of narrative stories is that when you make a choice, the game tells you the game has remembered your choice. It doesn't really
Yes.
matter if it actually leads to consequence, but you
That
already feel
hurts.
the weight of like,
Yes.
oh, maybe the choice doesn't matter. I'll take the money, and you get a pop up that says, oh,
This
we
person will
know,
remember this, and it's
yeah,
like, oh no.
yeah,
Oh
which is
no.
very clearly this will come back to haunt you
Yeah.
inevitably, and it's
Mhm.
a promise. It's like the Chekhov's gun, basically, right?
Yes.
Of yeah, it's the Damocles sword, more
Mhm.
suitable to this podcast probably.
I think another game I think of that's I think for me is very like linear. Is oh gosh, the name of it. Is it like it's like a Plague's Tale or something like that?
Yeah, the rats,
Yes, yeah, and it's
the one
like
with the rats. Yeah, Plague
it's
Tale. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's
Yeah,
very
the
it's a
rat
fun
commercial,
game
well
to
done.
play. It is
Oh
fun to
yeah,
play, but it is one
I'm not
point
sure I
to
would
the
use
other.
that word.
I problem is I actually really love rats. I had them as pets growing up, and I'm
Okay,
just like
okay.
they're so cute.
Oh,
And my
good.
mom is like,
So
"Oh,
I
what?"
would. I want to make a rat game. So the reason is uh, gonna segue here a bit, but
Go for it.
because I found my patient zero for the game. So back in the day
Mhm.
when the plague of COVID would
Yeah.
reign the world, I decided this is the perfect time to read the the plague, or what's the original title?
There's a
Uh, Duma is the Polish title, and by Camus, or whatever you spell that.
the plague. Yeah, Albert
Yeah,
Camus.
that's the
Yeah,
title. Yeah, okay. Well,
yeah,
that's a fitting title. All right. So I just said, like, I always wanted to read this book.
yep. I
What better
just picked
time,
that
right?
one up actually.
Yeah. So you might save it for the next pandemic because like this because so I like to read books that like I like to read pirate books when I'm by the sea, right? Or
Yep,
like urban adventure when I'm in the city. Yeah.
yep.
And fantasy books when I'm in the forest.
Mhm.
So
You
you
know,
will have to wait a
in a
second for the
pandemic,
next context. Yeah.
read a book about the
For
plague.
to read the plague. So the plague, amazing book, great game idea there. To
Ah.
to be to be the manager of a city where the plague is reigning, and like so you have people who want to get out of a district because there's like the outbreak starts there,
Hmm.
but you don't really want them to get out. You
No,
sort of do because, well,
they're
you need that
people, and you don't
population.
want them to.
But it's yeah. I think this makes a lot of these interesting choices. And going back to being a villain,
Hmm.
where it's the only inevitable choice. So if you are in a pandemic situation where you are locked up with people who you know are sick and you think you're not sick but no one really knows, but you're locked up in this, and so this guy who made this lockdown is the villain.
Hmm.
I think that's the common thread to most through most of the games and stories that I would like to work on. Like
Okay.
make the player make the villainous choices that
Hmm.
are inevitable.
Yeah. Got it. It's sort of like when you get to the end and you're like, oh, I was the bad guy all along. Um,
Oh no. So I want the player
or like
not in that. I want the player to know, like
that
to
they're
be
the
like I have to make this, like this will hurt me
oh
more.
oh
Uh,
god, my heart.
yeah.
Must I be the bad guy? But can you at least like have like a little pet rat where you're like
Oh yeah, yeah,
s-
100%.
you can turn and you can like pet it to like calm yourself down. And it's like it's you and me, buddy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We're
And
in this
so,
together.
going back to Minotaur,
Yeah.
I what I really like about this is like, so you're just this horny teenager, wink, wink, locked up in a maze, and
Mhm,
there's these dudes who are raiding your your solitary place, and
mhm.
you're like, what are you doing here? Why are you? Get out!
Get out of my swamp. Yeah.
Why do you hate me? Yeah, exactly. And so, uh, on the narrative side of things, we present them to be like adventurers who are like, you know, just they don't really perceive you as a person, and you
Mhm.
know very well you're a person. And Daedalus is
Mhm.
present
Yeah.
to reestablish that and be the a father figure
Yeah.
and a mentor
Mhm.
to rekindle that constantly, like, oh, they're evil, well, not evil, but they're like they're just greedy, and well,
Yeah.
they're doing their thing, and you have to do whatever to survive. And so that's why the game has so much gore.
Mhm.
So the traps
So,
will dismember and throw pieces
yeah.
of meat around and whatever.
Also, we love
To
it.
also, yeah, yeah, it's basic UX. That's the rules of UX.
Yeah.
Basic feedback.
Mhm.
Like it has to be like the when you click a button in Windows and like animates and there's a sound. It's the same thing. It's the same
Yeah.
thing. Yeah. And so, but it also that's towards creating this interesting, maybe not dilemma, but the paradox of doing evil things and perceiving yourself as an okay person.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I hate it when a game does this quietly. Like, for example, there's been a lot of memes with Uncharted, like, oh, just an adventurer, just I just came here to steal this thing. Also killed 400 guys while doing it, but you know,
It's
they started it.
wash my hands of it. Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
like you went there.
yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to. I like to make this, like, the choices you make as a player clearer to the player, and like make this as optional as possible usually.
Mhm.
Like, but Minos might not be the best example here, but overall I think it's interesting to give the player a choice between bad and worse,
Mhm.
and have them become, you know it's like Rambo 4. When pushed,
Mhm.
killing is as easy as breathing.
Yeah.
It's that. Yeah.
Yeah. Circling back to the Daedalus of it all, I
Yes.
this is something I have noticed recently in sort of any, not any Minotaur but modern Minotaur stories, is sort of this turning of Daedalus into this very like father-like figure, like you were saying, this very like taking care of Asterion kind of figure. And it's very much so a modern thing.
Hmm.
Because from my knowledge of the ancient sources, and I've done some looking into it mostly because I like what writing about family dynamics in history. So I call it daddy issues. I like
Oh yeah,
talking.
yeah,
I
100%. Yeah.
yeah, it's I'm writing an entire thesis on Telemachus's daddy issues, and I'm like, there is so much I could fill a
Yep.
book, but it's very much something that doesn't exist in antiquity, because I've written about
Yep.
Daedalus and Icarus before, about how he's like he's a present father, but he's not very active with Icarus himself, which eventually leads to sort of Icarus not being guided well enough to be able, well, at least that's my opinion. um but then yeah, seeing this thing where now it's suddenly like he is that has this super sympathetic relationship to Asterion, where there's this like care, and because
Yep.
we know he was asked to make the labyrinth, he is the builder of the labyrinth, so
Hmm.
there's like this like I like this idea of like him trying to make Starion's life more comfortable. And so it was like it was or a touch of normalcy, I guess. Some humanity other than leaving this child by himself. And so yeah, I wonder where like how you guys got to like the we need to
Um,
have Daedalus and we
so
need
we're going into very spoilery territory, and
oh,
like as much as I don't care about spoiling the game to kind of into the person, I think you would appreciate the story really, really
firsthand.
well. So I'm
Yeah.
just gonna tease it.
Okay.
Um, so there's 2 points I would say in the story. One is a very significant factor that as you progress through the maze and go deeper and down, the maze of mazes,
Hmm.
Asterion, through solitude, grows more and more mad,
Mm,
which is a massive factor in his relationship with Daedalus.
yeah.
And the second like the second point, the second teaser is we have a slightly different uh, story reason for Icarus's wings falling apart,
Mm, okay.
and maybe someone got jealous.
That's so fair.
Huh?
I've
So
I've been that younger sibling.
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, 100%.
Mm. I remember
So
my sister kept stealing one of my games from me to play it, and I was so mad about it. I looked her dead in the eye, was holding the disc, and snapped it in half.
oh my god.
She was just like, "Why?"
Yeah.
Like,
And also, so going back to like what can we do with the myths and the
mhm.
canon? I think there's several elements in the so to speak canon which I now know is not a thing, but is so. But going back to say the Wikipedia version of the myth,
Yeah.
um, and like now talking about the Icarus myth,
Hmm.
the with the key, the protagonist not being um, Icarus here, but Asterion,
Hmm.
it's it makes more sense and makes the story more interesting. It adds weight to 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 the character to
Hmm.
shift the agency towards the protagonist who
Hmm.
gets a lot of screen time, and so like his actions should carry more, and so it's his actions that trigger a lot of these story events
Hmm.
rather than this thing happened because someone else did something sort of randomly. Yeah, like you
Hmm.
wouldn't care about that unless it's attached to your character
Hmm.
sort of.
Hmm. I always kind of forget how much like game building is psychological too.
Oh yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, you just have to understand how people think and interact with the world or interact with things. I'm just like the dirty academic who's just like, read my paper that is non-readable.
Yeah. Oh yeah, but like yeah, 100%. So again, different schools, so there's
Yeah.
different schools of design, obviously. But
Mm,
I've come to believe deeply that game design is all about evoking emotion first and foremost, and
yeah.
everything has to follow that. Like that sounds kind of obvious, but gets important when you're like, so do we make this consistent? Do we
Mm,
make this logical? Do we make this follow the plot? Do we make this follow the Wikipedia version of the myth? Or do we
mm-hmm.
make this a lasting experience?
Mm-hmm.
And like because you'll have conflicts like that arise every single day, a million times a day as you're making a game. And so what I lean towards nowadays is, well, yeah, 100% emotional all the way. Hit him hard.
Mm-hmm.
And doesn't, like, if hit hard, players forgive a lot. Like,
This is true.
you know,
Yeah.
it's like Star Wars. Makes no
Yeah.
sense. But it's fun and
Yeah.
dramatic and it's fun and it's funny and it's silly and all that. So,
And the
um,
Ewoks are great. I don't care what any of the older fans say.
yeah,
They're wonderful.
yeah. Let's agree to disagree.
That's where I'm just like, it's obvious I was born in the 90s. I was just like, Ewoks, yes. I remember the television series, the animated
Okay,
show.
all right, okay.
I
Yeah,
for
that
them.
alluded. I watched Star Wars super, super late, and so some of these things, went above
Mm,
my head all the way.
that's so fair. But yeah, I think that is one of the important things is you have to make people care, and if people don't care, they're not going to keep coming back to it. And you want people to keep coming back to it as well, and you also want people to be invested in the story. You want people to have that feeling, and I think actually Asterion is kind of a great character for that, in the sense, or any monstrous character from antiquity, because they are very, and it goes into like monster theory, where monsters are a reflection of society. And this is really, really, people who study this better can do a more beautiful job of explaining it. But it's like, even like from vampires, when it got super popular, to like zombies, where it's like that fear of like the masses and consumption, and it, what we are super into is a reflection. And then so those monsters then are a reflection of real people, and it highlights shadows in a way that I think is really interesting. Like, I've just read a book that just its main character was a zombie, and she's just like, she's constantly questioning this overarching, like, this hunger she feels, this unending hunger, and her arm falls off one day, and she's like, my arm, but what can I do? Like, she's just like,
not good.
Like a stray dog comes and tries to like eat it, and she's like beats the dog off with it, and is like waving it at him like, go away. And then she's like, oh my god, that's my arm I'm using. But it's this thing where these the monsters, they are I think closer to people than the heroes, and ancient Greek heroes especially, because we love to make ancient Greek heroes our modern day heroes, but our modern day heroes are very different. Like, in true reality, like, ancient Greek heroes are just, they will do whatever they can to win glory, even if it's bad.
100%. Our Theseus is such an asshole.
And that is very true to the story. Like, if like, that's probably as close to canon as you can get.
At canon, exactly.
Yeah, because it's not about being a good person. It's about having everlasting reputation. And if you have to do bad things, throw a child over the walls of Troy, that you do that thing, because
absolutely.
They don't care. So
but
like,
the reference we used for Theseus, for the guy who did the portrait and the guy who did the voice acting, it was like, that was super straightforward. I was like, Gladiator, Commodus, am I not merciful? That's the vibe. That's where we're going for. They're like, oh yeah, sure, of course, I got it, and both of them nailed it. It was like, that was extremely straightforward. And
I love
on that topic, what's the key reference for the vibes in our game? It's Beauty and the Beast, because it's the same fucking story. It's literally except there's no lass, right? But apart from that, that's because that's the vibe. Like, with the angry mob, like, guys, can I just have my breakfast here in peace?
Can I just live in my castle with my talking furniture? Like, truly, I've done nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like, it's Also, one of the reasons we're like, we should probably make the protagonist like slightly ugly, so that he might be likable somewhat.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, we still have to do the narrative legwork and give him the agency, like, understandable and whatnot. But if it's really difficult to get behind an ugly character.
Yeah. They have to, like, if they're ugly, but they need to at least be like ugly cute, where it's like, that's disgusting, I love it. Like, that's fair. That's human mind. We love cute things.
Obviously it's not as cute as, say, taken from, because the Beast in Beauty and the Beast kind of looks like taken from Lion King, So
he's a weird amalgamation of creatures.
Yes,
and I don't like him. I didn't get to watch Beauty and the Beast very much because my sister loved it so much she destroyed the VHSs of it. She would watch it, rewind it, then watch it, then rewind it, then watch it.
It's an amazing movie. It's a great movie.
And after the second VHS broke, my mom went, no. I'm not buying anymore. Like, no.
That's an amazing birthday present.
Oh yeah, no. When it came out on DVD, it was like,
what? No, VHS. Hunt down a VHS.
Well, what do I have? I have a VHS of Black Cauldron because that was my favorite movie as a child. Why did I like such dark movies? To be fair, dark movies were what the 90s had, like Secret of Nim and
Oh yeah. Also yeah. So here's this thing. So
yep.
I was born in '86. So I kind of grew up in the '90s. So like all the media.
Yeah.
So I think it's the media that you intake between being, I don't know, 7 or 10 till you're 17 or 20. Like that range is where whatever you watch there and
Mm-hmm.
listen to, like this made you. You
Yep.
obviously, if something is really, above and beyond, you like it, but your taste is settled.
Mm-hmm.
So I 100% agree that the stuff in the 90s was extremely dark, and like you'd have massively dark movies being made and massively successful.
Yeah.
And I think that's changed. And one of my rubs with the modern market is like I'm doing 90s things in terms of vibes, and everyone's playing Peak and Are We There Yet. And I was like, oh, why? It's fun, okay, but wouldn't you want to explore the dark depths of humanity and what makes us all monsters? And everyone's like, no, we have it in the news now.
Yeah.
Like, yeah,
Truly.
fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Share the longest unguarded border with the country that is making choices.
Oh yeah.
And it's real exhausting to be right beside it, but it's
Oh
time
yeah,
North
but like
America faced some
we
heat.
have war like right there, so I
Yeah,
kind of know what
I
you're
know.
talking about. Yeah, yeah.
I'm taking my mother to Greece this summer. Early
So I've
summer.
heard. Very
Yes.
cool.
And she messaged me the other day. She was like, "Should we be worried?" And I was like,
No,
we're gonna be in
nah,
Rhodes. It'll be fine." Like I'm
nah,
like, they're
it's
not
fine.
gonna like if they're
They're
gonna
far
hit.
from the things. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm like, honestly, this like if they're anything they're going for is like U.S. military bases, and that's on Crete. So if they do that, like which unlikely, like hitting
Oh, by the
Europe
way, you
is.
should totally go to Crete. That
I
would be my.
know
Yeah.
it needs
Although
to be
you
its
will
own
be
trip.
extremely disappointed in Knossos.
Oh, I
But
know. Oh, I already know.
okay.
It's
Because I didn't. I came was like,
oh yeah,
oh,
sorry.
fuck is this?
I know. It's Arthur Evans' wet dream where he was just like, this is what I thought
Yeah,
they were. And
yeah,
it's like,
yeah, yeah,
come
yeah.
on.
But
Um,
so here's the thing. So as we were working on the Minos trailer,
yeah.
like we had to base that visually on
Mm-hmm.
what everyone thinks the ancient Greece pillars colors
Mm-hmm.
should be like, and like everyone's like, oh, these colors are off until we did them like these red and black, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like, yeah, that's ancient Greece. I'm like, well, okay,
Well,
all right,
that's what Arthur Evans put it as, and his weird French painter that he had come and
yeah.
just to redo all the
But imagine
frescoes.
that, like you made someone paint over a
Yeah.
pillar or two in
Yeah.
this rugged place in the middle of nowhere,
Mm-hmm.
and so now you have defined the color palette for this ancient culture forever and ever till the end of time, because that's
That's
it's
what
it's settled now.
some
Yeah.
guy decided in
Yeah.
the late 1800s
That
or
being
early
said,
1900s.
it's not a bad color palette. Could have been
No,
worse.
no.
Like for yeah, right? Like
Could you imagine if he picked
yeah.
like a vomit green and then
Yeah,
like a
that
neon
pink,
orange?
yeah.
Like it could have been worse.
Uh, yeah, okay, that's yeah.
Yeah.
It's not a worse.
Oh, oh, this is very exciting.
Although, oh, sorry,
Yeah,
I need to nerd out a bit. So,
go for it.
so when I went to Crete, and I
Hmm.
went a couple times, like the most exciting place, because okay, context. At the time I was reading, uh, oh my God, Jared Diamond's second most famous book, which is Guns, Germs, Steel, I think. Yeah, Guns, Germs, and Steel: The Fates of Human Societies. He's an anthropologist, a brilliant one. If you've his most famous book, for which he got, I think, Pulitzer's or whatever other book prize, um, the about the fall of civilizations. That one is a fucking banger. But so Guns, Germs, and Steel talks about how the inventions through history of humanity led to changes in the course of history of humanity, yada yada.
Hmm.
And so he talks about the disc of Phaistos. Are you?
Yes.
Yeah, probably you are. So finally, someone obviously this is the place where
Yeah.
this is the podcast where I can nerd out about this, and so
Yes.
everyone knows and they understand. So, like for me, going to the archaeological museum in Heraklion to see
Mm,
the Phaistos disc
mm.
in like in in real, that
In
was
person.
it was a religious experience for me. It was like,
Oof.
oh my god, well, obviously it's just a small rock, but if
It's
you
still,
know, it's
and
so yeah,
it's this mystery, and I'm sitting here and I'm like, one
yeah,
day somebody is going
so
to
good.
decipher linear A, and I don't want it to be someone in the field, only because I don't think we deserve that. I think
Yeah,
it should be just some good
yeah.
puzzle solving
Because
citizen.
yeah, the what's the name of the rock in the British Museum with the languages?
Rosetta Stone.
The Rosetta Stone, thank you.
Yeah.
Like that one is big at least, and
Yes.
it looks so cool. It's
Hmm.
like from a Kubrick movie, right?
Yeah.
But the Feistus is like, yeah, it's there.
But it has these
It's
beautiful little
yeah.
things on it, and it's like it's just so cool to think about,
Oh,
like,
yeah,
what was happening. I find
yeah.
it beautiful because I'm that kind
Okay,
of nerd
okay,
where I'm like,
yeah, okay,
is
yeah,
that a
yeah, yeah.
shark
So
or a tuna? I
yeah,
don't know.
but my point is, if you didn't know and just saw it, you'd be like, yeah, it's a
Yes.
rock with signs on it, right?
Yep.
But once you know that the it's probably been printed for
Yep.
whatever reason, you're like, oh my god,
Hmm.
that's so crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
this reminds me of when I was in Athens. I go there like pretty much every year, but I went to the I
of
know
course.
I went to the inscription museum that they have
Hmm,
there by the
okay.
National Archaeological Museum, and I was the only person there, and because it's literally just like stelae
So
with like
cool.
writing on it, and the Athenians love to set up giant rocks that had all like
Hmm,
their rules and regulations on it, which is like interesting. That must mean people can read for the most part. But what they
yeah,
have
yeah.
there is the first evidence of Greek writing as we know it now,
Okay.
that was found, and it's this tiny little fragment, and it just has these like little scratches on it that you can barely read. But it was one of those things. I turned, I walked, and looked, and I was like, oh my god. Oh, there it is! Like that's the birth of modern Greek. Like I'm like,
Oh, so
oh,
cool.
and I was being such a nerd in that museum, and the because like Greek museums, the small ones, they always have somebody like following, staying in the room with you, because especially if you are obviously not European, because they're like, North Americans, they're gonna touch it, and I'm like, I promise I'm not. I'm Canadian, I know better.
Nice.
But she was so, because eventually we started talking, and she was just, I think she was just like, who is this person just so excited about like writing on rocks? And I'm like, look at it. This is amazing. But
Very good.
she was so cute. She's like, where are you from? I went, Canada. I was like there in June or July, and she was like, oh, it must be cold there right now, like it's winter, right? And I went, no. You're very sweet. I'm on the West Coast. We don't get winter, we get rain.
All right, right.
Yeah. But oh yeah, well, anyways, I'm very excited about this. This is gonna be very fun.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you.
Yes, I will. If there's anything else you'd like to share before the end,
Yeah, I
this
know.
will
I'm
come out
supposed to be selling
after.
the game here, but I'm not sure how one does this. So, like, buy the game, everyone. Yay, it's so
Yeah.
good.
So when
Game.
the release date
It's myth.
was
Secret. But it's
it's gonna
we're
be coming
gonna
out, I think,
say things
afterwards.
soon. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if
Well, depending on
Colby's.
right, because like this is gonna be published whenever. So,
Yeah, because I can
in
just
the
let me find my calendar.
adjacent
Come on.
point in time to this release, there will be news probably. I don't know.
Perfect. Let me see if I can go to my production calendar. Where'd my production calendar go?
Where's your production calendar?
There it is. Okay. It'll definitely come after. It'll definitely be airing April 17th on, something like that. I can try and get it
Oh,
early.
right.
Yeah.
So, the game is already out.
Oh, there we go.
I all the spoilers.
Perfect.
Oh well. All right. All right. Good.
Uh,
So,
buy it
um,
anywhere. We can link it in the description. All the things.
no, no. I'm assuming everyone already bought it,
Better.
and so I would be extremely disappointed if they did. And should
Perfect.
put as a disclaimer at the beginning. Play the game first. Purchase it first. Like
I could do
you don't have
that.
to. Actually, you don't have to play it. You can just purchase it. That is even better.
Very
Yeah,
fair.
that is
Yeah.
fine.
Your next game, you should make an ancient Greek farming sim. That's all I want.
Oh,
Like,
already underway. It's a different thing, but you will love this as well.
but
Like
I just
I
don't want.
will.
I
Yeah,
don't want fighting.
I will meet you here in a year.
Okay.
Or so.
Sounds perfect.
Let's Talk About Myths Baby is written and produced by the one and only Liv Albert. Michaela is the Hermes to all your Olympians. The producer wants more coffee and sleep, but can't have both. Select music by Luke Chaos. Thank you, Luke. The podcast is part of the Memory Collective Podcast Network, a collection of creators that all strive to bring you accurate and reliable information on the ancient world. These include the wonderful friends at Movies We Dig, the partial historians, Sweet Bitter, and so much more. Get ad-free episodes and more by subscription to the Oracle edition on Patreon at patreon.com/mythsbaby or via the link in the episode's description. Perhaps we'll do some fun gaming stuff there with Minos. Wouldn't that be fun? Anyways, are you a scholar or academic or an expert in something from antiquity, from Greece to Rome to Egypt to anywhere in the Near East? We would love to have you on our show as a conversation guest. Go to mythsbaby.com/contact and fill out our podcast guest form. We want to hear from you, so reach out. Anyways, talk to you all later. Bye-bye.